Hello everybody, my name's Kunai Manika, and welcome back to the unboxing, where today we're building more stuff, kind of. So this is technically actually the overview. Get the unboxing concept out of your brain now, even though I just said it. This is an overview now. Anyhow, today we were taking a look at something that I didn't even have on my radar for a long time until I saw it in someone else's YouTube video. That's right. Today we are taking inspiration from someone else, mainly because they're really one of the only people who have actually tried to talk about this product. Allow me to introduce to you the Jazzwares Builder Series Chainsaw Man. I did not set the camera up properly for this, but yeah, a while ago, especially in comparison to when you were saying this, I saw a video by better toy YouTuber than me, Diaclona. Her videos are really funny, they're very good, I recommend them if you have not seen them. And she does this series called Discount Dive, where she buys toys that are like in like the bargain bin or on clearance or whatever, and sees if they're any good or not. And one of the things she decided to pick up was this. She found it for $6. I didn't, because I bought it online, but you can fairly easily find this for some pretty decent prices, even at its retail price of like about 20 bucks. From what I can tell, this seems to be a pretty good deal. And then, of course, me saying it saw this as a weird perfect blend of my obsession with Bionicle and my love for Chainsaw Man, so I decided to pick this up. And also one other that I don't think literally anyone on the internet has talked about. I mean, maybe there's someone who's talked about it on like their individual blog or whatever, but today we are starting with the titular Chainsaw Man. Starting off, in the corner here we have that Builder logo, kinda generic, but it's fine, and then we have the English Chainsaw Man logo, which I've never really been too big of a fan of. The font is pretty good, but it always just seems a lot more generic than the look in like the Japanese manga volumes. This just kind of looks a lot more generic, but it works fine here. And we have a generic black background because this is a toy for 13 and up. So it's meant to be a little bit more posh. We have in image a CGI render really of the figure right in the center doing a little pose. We have the Quickbrick logo. It's for ages 13 plus. It has 311 pieces. It's Chainsaw Man. It's item number 40 apparently. And that's where we get to the rub. You see, again, this is a Jazzwares product, which means this is kind of sort of technically part of their Total Anime line, I believe it's called. It's not officially, but for some reason Jazzwares has done a licensing deal, not with necessarily like Shueisha or whatever, but specifically with Crunchyroll, and it's gotten them a couple of anime licenses, mainly I believe it's been Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and My Hero Academia from what I've seen. Builder only really encompasses Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, but yeah, also Quickbrick, which is apparently some sort of vibe that they're going for these. And we have the orange background with like a splatter effect, which I'm not sure if that's meant to be Chainsaw Man adjacent, or if that's meant to be Crunchyroll adjacent, or whatever. At the bottom, we get some legalese. Also, the box has a matte finish that I'm not super a fan of. I guess if any Jazzwares employees are watching this video for whatever reason, I don't really like the matte finish. I kind of wish it was just a glossy package. I know you're meant to emboss this, but I don't really like it. Anyhow, at the bottom, we get a bunch of legalese. Tatsuki Fujimoto, Shueisha, and Mappa. You know, the Crunchyroll logo, all the other legalese. Don't eat the parts if you're a 3-year-old, which you shouldn't be here anyways, because this is not a video for a 3-year-old. Anyhow, on this side, we get a somewhat generic buildable figure system sort of image. It's got the Builder logo there, it's got Quickbrick, it's fully posable, and it shows where the joints are on the figurine when you get around to building it, which is neat enough, I guess. Mostly uses ball joints, we'll get there. On this side, it has 3 different images of Chainsaw Man to show certain things a little bit more up close. We get the torso, we get the knees going up. Maybe they're trying to do the dance at the end of the first opening that him and Power do. Builder logo, chainsaw head. At the top, it's got the Builder logo and then that Chainsaw Man logo. It's got a nice studded surface to it, which is neat enough, but yeah. And on the back, we have our usual renders. It's the Builder Chainsaw Man. We have him in a just sort of like, it's not an A stance, but like a sort of generic pose to help show a more objective look of the figure. It's item number 40. It's fully posable, and it's showing the articulation there. And then at the bottom, you've got a QR code to go to their website. It's by Jazzwares, it's made in China. And then we have the 2 other figures that are in the first wave, both Jujutsu Kaisen figures. Both, I'm pretty sure, the same physical body character, but two different guys. We've got Sukuna and Yuji from Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not really going to cover those because I'm not that into Jujutsu Kaisen. Seems neat enough. I haven't read it yet. But yeah, you can get Jujutsu Kaisen figures from this line. But anyhow, that's the box. But I need to get this built so that I can actually have an opinion of it. So why don't we do that? Yeah. And we're back, finally, after that nice, big, long build. And once we have that done, we get ourselves an action figure. That's right, it's still much more relevant to the channel than maybe even those other LEGO videos we've done. But anyhow, it's time to take a look at the Builder Series Chainsaw Man. Yeah, first off, I think it's worth discussing the build more properly because this is a non-LEGO product that not as many people have taken a delve into, and it was pretty good. I found a lot of the techniques to be pretty decently interesting. I didn't take as thorough of notes here, so like I can't necessarily, and it's been a second. I decided to record this the day after I built it just because of time and life and stuff like that. But it is pretty clever in the way it does stuff, especially in the head area. A lot of the greebling that it does uses a lot of clever techniques, and like the jaws are also fairly clever, which we can get a bit more into later. I do generally like the way that the torso is done, using a decent number of small parts, mainly to get some nice, strong greebling in there, some very purposeful greebling as well. That really does feel like Denji Chainsaw Man. I should probably talk about feel. They don't feel cheap, I'll say that much. These parts don't necessarily feel like they're like cheap knockoff parts. They do feel fairly nice. I guess, like, the big note is that, honestly, they feel a bit tighter in terms of their tolerance than your usual LEGO part, which might be a pro or a con, depending on who you ask. It does make the build experience slightly more effort-filled, I guess, because you are having to use a lot more force in order to get certain parts together, and I guess my big complaint with build experience is the instructions. They were mostly fine and clear, but there were a lot of instances where in the image of the parts coming together, a couple of the small parts would be trying to go down at the same time, and they weren't super clearly demarcated between which part was which. So it made it kind of look like they were one big part rather than two small parts, which would have been entirely possible given there's a lot of unique pieces, which I'll get to some of the things that I am doing with this model when you see it, because obviously I've done some stuff. But yeah, some of the instructional, like it does thankfully have a little diagram at the upper like right corner that's like, hey, these are all the pieces that are in this step, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But as someone, I think I tend to build fairly fast. I'm not like the fastest speed builder in the world. I'm not like a speed runner or anything, but I tend to be, I like to think I'm at least in like the upper half of people in terms of speed in building Lego-esque product. And generally a lot of that has come down to instinct in looking at the instructions and being able to decipher what pieces are which by just looking at the image of everything coming together. And this set wasn't as conducive to that, so I had to spend a little bit more time looking at the instruction and then looking through my parts. It made things slightly less efficient, but it wasn't like an arduous build process. This thing only took it took under an hour to build this, so it's nothing crazy. It's only 311 parts. It was fun to build, and I guess we should get into the more specifics of the model. So starting off, something you'll notice right off the bat is the chainsaws. There's two on each arm and one at the head, and they are completely unique parts for this set. They are pre-molded chainsaw pieces, which I'm sure some people will hate. They'll only accept something that generally uses pre-brick built stuff, which might not I mean, this set also does introduce just a lot of unique parts that aren't in the classic Lego system in order to achieve a lot of what it's doing. A lot of which are like studs not on top parts. So like it'll have like a 1x4 tile that has studs on both sides, no anti-studs. And like, I'm sure some people will see it as sacrilege. I find it to be pretty fun and a pretty unique distraction away from what Lego usually does. And they do seem to be fairly useful pieces, all things considered. I guess it's part of that Quickbrick philosophy. Anyhow, he also has the chainsaws, and as you can see, they're a little bit plain in the painting. This is because I bought the basic $20 version that you can buy like at Target and like at Amazon and stuff like that. On the Jazzwares website, there's apparently a $40 deluxe set that has bloodier chainsaws and like a base. I might get that, but it's basically just this figure with a base and some bloody chainsaw effects, so I might not. But I do like how the chainsaws look in general. They get a little bit scratched up in the box, unfortunately, the paint, but the sculpt does feel great. It's not like painfully sharp, thankfully. This doesn't like actually stab me like the SH Figuarts Chainsaw Man, but they are nice. And as a side note, the chainsaws in the head and the chainsaw in the head and the chainsaws in the hands are different molds. It'll make sense. It's based on the amount of connection points that each has. I do like the head construction generally too. I think the vinyl teeth is very clever. Again, it avoids the over sharpness while allowing them to look very nice. I do worry a little bit about damage, but it'll be fine. The shaping does feel generally perfect. I really like the way that they somewhat simplified the greebling, but still got it in there to make it look like Chainsaw Man. It is a bit big. I think that mainly comes down to the jaw being really long. It doesn't feel like it should be this much length in the jaw, which makes the head feel a little bit big proportionally. But yeah, and taking a look at the back of the head, you can see that, again, very clever design, very clever parts usage. I really like this sort of like car bumper sort of piece, if it'll fucking white balance properly, Jesus Christ. I like that part as the handle of the chainsaw. It makes it really fun, and like you could probably put that in a minifigure's hands and like recreate like in a very goofy way that one Chainsaw Man part 2 like artwork with Asa/Yoru holding the Chainsaw Man head. Moving on to the torso, it's fairly plain. What's kind of nice about it, some people will be annoyed about it, since they don't put a ton of torso articulation into this, unfortunately, which we'll get to in a second. He has like a permanent hunch to his body, which is very impressively done. They put the swivel up there at the torso, which is also pretty nice. I kind of wish there was also a swivel at the waist though, but it's very clever. The way they did it, and it allows him to have that slight hunch, and also it allows him to, if you're willing to be a little bit more creative with the articulation, he has that sort of standard heroically posed crotch forward look. I can lower it a little bit for your sake. You can see if you angle it like this, he has that sort of crotch forward superhero manga anime look, which a lot of like, I guess like posing images are like, hey, if you do this, a figure will look extra dynamic. So just out of the box, even though he doesn't have a ton of articulation in the torso, he is able to look pretty dynamic. This also brings us to something that's also very nice about it. He has a little pocket there. All of the parts in this are printed. That's something a Lego fan's going to be a big fan of, because I see Lego people constantly getting annoyed about non-printed pieces. Everything here is printed. And there's a pretty large amount of printed pieces. You've got the pocket, you've got the eyes on the chainsaw head, which are like 2 different parts, and you've got a ton of the detailing on his shoes. So they didn't skimp out on printing really either. And also, he has like the little branding for whatever reason, for Tatsuki Fujimoto, Shueisha, and Mappa, I guess. Anyhow, I also really like how they did the general dishevelment on the shirt. Again, I mentioned it earlier. It's very nicely done. It doesn't feel too overdone, and it uses like nice studded surfaces and different slopes to really get across that disheveled, unkempt shirt look that Denji should have. I really appreciate it. Arms are simple enough. I kind of wish the tiling here was a little bit less gappy. It makes it look skin-wise a little bit awkward. I get why they did it. I guess the arms kind of look my least favorite here, just because of that. But also, I have slightly modified it for the sake of this video. In the instructions, the arms are prescribed to be down here. There are these weird, like multi-level studded torso blocks. Those are the Quickbricks that you can see on the package. And also they're meant to be all the way into the torso. But I find this look to be just a little bit more proportionally off, and he already has the proportional issues in the head. But since they already give you the option, given the parts that you have, it's a very easy and, in my opinion, recommended modification to lift his shoulders up by one place. It makes his shoulder line, to me, look a lot more natural, and it gives him more articulation. So I'd say if you buy this, you should do that. It's literally a no hassle, no cost modification. I'm gonna leave this one down for the sake of the articulation, so I can show you the comparison between my modification. And yeah, also I recommend, it'll look a little bit worse, but having a little bit of extra axle, it'll wiggle out while you play anyways. Just having that little bit of extra axle room just makes him a lot more playable. Anyhow, I do like the upper sleeves. I do think they're nicely done. They do have that rolled up effect as much as you can. Again, it's a little bit awkward because you can't have the chainsaws going back past the elbow, unfortunately, so it looks a little off, but it works for what it is. But then yeah, moving on down to the pants sculpting, starting off with the waist. I really like how they did the belt. It's very simple, using just like some tiles and some ingots, but they were even able to get some really fun belt loop design in there that just makes it feel a lot more like realistic, and it's very cleverly done for how simple a lot of the parts in it are, just a couple tiles. And then the pants, I guess this is where I gotta kind of make a comparison. They have a very nice build, to be fair, and they do have that nice slacks look, and alongside that we have some very nice shoes that do look perfect. Again, all that printing is paying off. And all the printing is very nice. I only had a little bit of a printing mishap on this tile, and it's barely noticeable, so it's only gonna bother me. But yeah, I really like how the legs are sculpted. They're very simple, but very nicely done, and they have that like a very nice intentional like shaping to it that makes it look nice and natural. I guess I need to make a comparison because like I'm probably gonna joke and kid, because I kind of want to make other videos other than just unboxings about these. I'm gonna joke and kid about these being Chainsaw Man Bionicles, but I guess the main point of comparison is the modern Lego Marvel buildable figures, oddly enough. Let's see if I can't find it. There it is. There's the head. It's night and day, the comparison. Chainsaw Man is actually slightly taller, which is kind of funny, but god, does it look better. I see a lot of people complain about these figures online. There's something that people don't want out of Lego Marvel. I should put you into like a proper pose so that you can... Now, of course, the Chainsaw Man's gonna have a couple of inherent advantages in comparison to your Spider-Man. For one, he's allowed a lot more unique parts. Of course, he's got the chainsaws and the vinyl bits. He's also got completely unique hand sculpts, which another complaint, I guess, about the build process for someone who's not me. They are on runners, so a lot of LEGO fans do not like things on runners. They're stupid, but whatever. So it's just a little weird to see parts on runners on something like this, needing extra tools for it, but whatever. The hands do look a little weird, but it's a little bit better looking than that, even if they do have a little bit less posability. The heads on the more humanoid figures are, if not unique sculpts, at least a more humanoid sculpt than whatever this is. Plus, I've had like slight complaints about some of the proportions on this. I think the torso's a bit long and the legs seem a little bit short to my eye, and the head's a bit big, but in no way does it have the level of proportional problems as this base design. Like, it mainly comes down to this torso. Like, once you remove these shoulder pads, the arms are so low down in comparison to where the neckline is. And like, even when I have my complaints on this one, it is nowhere near as bad as on this figure. And the arms, as such, are just so short, it just looks bad. And it's like, you can see some of the design DNA between these, but it's just night and day, just how much better it is. This one is, since it's able to target a slightly older audience. And a lot of that older audience honestly comes down to the articulation. So why don't we get into that? So, head is on two mixel joints. You've got a ball joint up here and a ball joint down here, which allows it to look up basically all the way. Down, not a ton. That's probably a bigger complaint of mine if he's not able to look down super far. He's able to swivel on both points, and he's able to tilt very far. And yeah, the jaw also is on two joints, so it's able to hinge outward. You might need to move the vinyl pieces because they might not go with the rest of the jaw, but you can make it go back with it easy enough, and then you can close it. And then I recommend, if you're going to fully close it, hinge it back slightly so that he has a bit of a smaller head. It works fine. Moving on to the arms. So on a base arm level, there's unfortunately no swivel if you're just gonna mess with it normally. It's able to, or I guess, swivel around like this all the way around and move out 90 degrees, limited by this part. But with my modifications fully in, there is a bit of bicep swivel just because of the way the ball joint is attached. It's able to have that full rotation still, and it's able to have greater than 90 degrees upward. So take that as you will. It's a simple enough modification. Elbows are on their own ball joints, so they're able to have some swivel. When you have the chainsaw blades flat like this, he's able to get a full 90 degrees. When they are swiveled around like so, they're only able to get like a little under 90 degrees. It's close enough, but just keep that in mind. And they can go back slightly, but they will be stopped by this little clip. Torso. I'm gonna start with the, I guess, most disappointing part of it. No real crunch. Like, you can slightly do it, but it's not really gonna do much because it's locked in place. The ball joint in the torso is mostly for a swivel, in which you can get a full swivel. And then you also have your tie, which has some a ball joint up here and a ball joint down here. There's technically a swivel in the attachment point, but you get no extra articulation out of that swivel, but you can move the tie basically however you want, which is great for making more dynamic poses. No drop down at the hips, no swivel at the waist either, but they are on ball joints, which allow them to kick forward about that far before needing to swivel out a little bit, kick back all the way, haha, and they're able to move out far greater than you would want. Plus, because of the stocks, the ball joint's able to swivel right there. There is a hinged knee, able to move more than 90 degrees, and there's a little bit of swivel there. And the knee pad, which it has, is able to hinge up and down. Finally, for the shoes, there's a hinge right here at the front to help it get out of the way while still having a nice high top look. And there's a ball joint here which allows it to kick forward about that far, kick back practically all the way, and tilt from side to side. So since he's so focused on ball joints, where this figure uses a lot more, I guess, varied techniques, I guess the term would be, the Chainsaw Man just moves better. It feels like a classic Bionicle in all of the best ways. He's a little loose in the joints, so just be careful. He's like 5% looser than I would like, but he's able to hold poses, thankfully. And like, I think the main takeaway so far is that LEGO has tried in the past to make buildable CCBS style figures that are made out of bricks. CCBS is the Hero Factory / Bionicle G2 system. It is the one that has like your ball jointed skeleton that has shells on top of it. LEGO has attempted to make things that like are in that vein, or even they call SCCBS. Sorry, Nick, I gotta, I love your mechs, but I gotta dog on you a little bit because this feels like system CCBS. It has these weird sort of like ways of connecting ball joints and creating bones, essentially. Outside of these shin pieces, these are basically just Bionicle G2 bones with studs on them. But like, for these parts, you're essentially constructing the bone and then you construct the armor around it. It's very CCBS-esque in, to me, all the best ways, while incorporating system greebling and builds. And like, this figure isn't perfect. Obviously, it's not my favorite Chainsaw Man I have in my collection by a mile. That's gotta be the SH Figuarts. That thing is just a masterpiece. But this scratches that Bionicle-esque itch that LEGO has just refused to scratch in the past couple years, at least in any way that I feel is up to par. So yeah, I do recommend this, especially to Bionicle heads who are into Chainsaw Man, me. It really does scratch that itch, and from what I can tell, this might not even be the best one in their lineup. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Don't forget to let me know what other figures I should take a look at in the future. Should I look at more of these builder figures? This video is probably gonna get no views, but my videos haven't been getting a lot of views this year anyway, so fuck it. I'm doing what I want, for me. That's what the channel is for. This is my channel, fuck you. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this figure, if you're gonna pick it up now that you've seen me review it, or overview it, really. I haven't really reviewed it, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!